Today I want to tell you about a life-changing haircut I once had. I was sitting in a waiting room, ready to get a haircut, and I happened to pick up a magazine. Inside it was an advertisement for a new digital camera. I knew almost nothing about photography, but within a few days, I bought the camera. It was pretty expensive, and I wanted to be sure that I got my money's worth for it, and so I promised myself that I would take pictures every day. And I've yet to break that promise 15 years later. For the past 5,253 days, I've taken pictures, mostly around the Dayton area. And from each day's photos, I choose 5, and I put them on my website. For instance, here are the 5 pictures I posted for today's date last year. Here's the month of October, 2017. Here's the entire year. Multiply that by 15, and you start to see the picture. Now, you can go online and look at all of them. Don't worry, the pictures are bigger on my website. There are more than 26,000 photos for you to look at. Just don't do it right now. Now, before I started taking pictures, before I had that life-changing haircut, I was a lot different. Well, for one thing, my hair was longer. But I remember back in those days griping to some of my friends and telling them that I felt like a tin man without a heart. I was doing pretty well, earning the highest salary I'd ever gotten, and driving a new car. But I was driving it to a job that didn't mean a whole lot to me. So, like a robot, I was following a repetitive routine that gave structure to my life, but not a whole lot of meaning. One morning I went out to my new car, ready to drive it to my meaningless job, and I noticed some small white blossoms had fallen from the tree next door that blooms every spring. One of the blossoms had landed on the hood of my car, and as I drove to work, I watched it, bouncing around like a little piece of popcorn. And that tiny diversion was the highlight of my day. Obviously, something was wrong. Years later, on the day I bought my camera, I brought it home, took it out of the box, didn't know how to use it, started taking pictures inside the living room, but then I pointed the camera out the window, and I shot a picture of that same tree. It was springtime once again, and so there were lots of those little white blossoms. I didn't realize it at the time, but the pictures I took on that day were my first steps away from the life of the tin man without a heart. And ever since that day, I've had this responsibility, kind of like a self-imposed quota that requires me to take pictures every day. For instance, one evening after work, I was ready to just go home and relax. I walked out the door of my building and could have turned left to go to the parking lot. But I hadn't yet taken my daily photos, and so I turned right instead. And I walked around outside for a while. The sun was going down, and I came across a patch of sunlight in the grass. And in it, there were some butterflies, sunning their wings, fluttering around, and I stood nearby and took a few pictures. But then I stepped into the light myself, and very soon the butterflies landed on me. And anybody who happened to be watching that day would have seen something kind of amusing. On another occasion, I was outside taking pictures, and I noticed a chipmunk that kept popping in and out of a little hole in the ground where it had stashed some food. It would bring out little bits of food and then run off with them to feed its hungry family. The chipmunk knew I was there, but it didn't seem to be intimidated by me. And as I stood there and watched, the chipmunk brought a morsel of food and cautiously placed it at my feet. And at that moment, I felt like an honorary member of the chipmunk kingdom. I take plenty of pictures of urban scenes, too, because I live and work within walking distance of this theater. I almost always have my camera with me, and it usually sits in the seat beside me when I drive my car. And that way, if I'm waiting at a red light and a man walks through traffic carrying a toy piano, I'm ready. I was in the right place at the right time to take a picture of this lady who appears to be marooned on an island in the middle of downtown Dayton. And I love this candid scene outside the baseball stadium. The dad is watching the game through the fence, while the little boy is just pondering his existence. Now, that picture was completely unposed and unplanned, like most of my photos are. On a typical day, when I get up in the morning, I have no idea what I'm going to take pictures of. It might be an urban scene. It might be a nature setting. I usually don't have any control over what happens in front of my camera, and so it's just up to me to respond to what happens. Nobody's paying me to take pictures every day. I don't run a photography business. I don't work for a studio. I am not interested in photographing your wedding or your high school senior. Really, I'm not. I take pictures mostly for myself and on my own time. It's been a big challenge, though, to do this for so long without taking photos of the same things over and over. But I strive for variety, to avoid getting myself into a rut, and also to keep things interesting for the people who look at my pictures online. Every day is an opportunity to do something new and to try something different. So one day I might take pictures of synchronized swimming, and the next day, glass blowing, sheep shearing, a prairie burn, whatever that is. Or a theater with hundreds of people sitting in front of me smiling. There. Now I only need to take 4 more pictures today. I look hard every day for beautiful scenes, for inspiring moments, for things that are worth capturing forever in a photograph. I seek them out. I go to the places where they're most likely to be found. And by doing this, day after day and year after year, I've become a more active participant in my own life, and I'm better able to appreciate all that I have. And that has nothing to do with photography. That's just a lifestyle and an attitude. I could tell you lots of stories about how my daily photo routine prompted me to turn right instead of left, and I ended up having a remarkable experience, like the day that the butterflies landed on me when I stepped into the light. Well, that incident took place just a few weeks after I bought my camera, when I was still concerned about getting my money's worth for it. But believe me, on that day, the camera paid for itself. The pictures of the butterflies are fine, but what's far more valuable is the experience I had that day and so many days since then. This has been a huge shift for me. Now, instead of driving to work like a robot, I like to walk around outside in the morning with my camera. But I find so much more than pictures. When the sky is blue, the sun is shining, and the birds are singing, I start to feel that I have everything I need, and that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. That life-changing haircut started me on a long journey of picture taking and self-discovery. And what I found is there's beauty right in front of me. It's all around us, all the time, waiting to be discovered.